Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare, and welcome back to the Human Revolution. Where we last left off, I had gone through two docking bay areas, and now we're going to be checking through the office section. This is where we can actually expect to find people doing their jobs and not just wandering around guarding a bunch of stuff, I guess. Also, interesting note, this place does not head towards progress. It heads to a secret area. Well, relatively secret area. It's the underside, where everybody's stuff falls through the cracks, because you gotta have these grill surfaces, I guess. You know, I really don't need Typhoon ammo. Because you do get all of your stuff after the DLC ends. So, when I have Typhoon back, I will have 5 ammo for it. So grabbing that one is pretty much pointless because, yeah, I'm not going to be getting Typhoon during the DLC here. Like, you can just make that assumption right here and now. Not gonna happen. Alright, well, so that elevator there leads down to the civilian who can get me extra stuff. But I'm not interested in going there just yet. I've got some exploring to do in here. And I'd rather do that first. Alright, well that got me past the camera at least. Strange, though. I was expecting a little more activity, at least in this section. I know there are people around here. I guess I was just expecting to have met them by now. Another camera. Looks like it's looking down the wrong corridor for the moment. So hopefully the boxes and the stuff should provide enough cover for me to get through here without too much issue.
Access granted.
Oh, good. Hey, it isn't even looking in this direction. I mean, maybe it could have done a full circuit by the time I did that, but well, this is a staging area for the big Australian War. I believe this is new, in fact, since we stepped off of the ship. The news is updated. Can't forget to save, now that my hacking is less than amazing. Don't want to set off any alarms, you know. This is taking too long. Yep, gotta use the stop. Gotta use it twice. Let's just nuke this thing.
Access granted.
Alright, yeah. This is where they're arranging what Bell Tower does in the Australian conflict. And by the way, this is why Picus News is conflicted about the Australian war. It's because China is kind of under its thumb and China is backing the separatists, but then also Bell Tower's under its thumb, and the Southern Nationalists have hired Bell Tower. So basically it's a situation where whoever wins, the Illuminati wins. So, they might as well be honest about what's going on down there. Down under. Oh, looks like I can just go straight up. Damn it. Having trouble pushing the buttons here. Luckily, this was a strength 1
Access granted.
stack for some reason. Yeah, and there's a lot of difficulty or tension between the regular soldiers under what's-her-face and the spec ops under Burke. That's a big part of the reason why Jensen is able to sort of squeeze his way in, so to speak. Alright, so that's just sort of a way to get around the side corridor there. A way of getting around the camera here. But I'm not quite done up here. Haven't been in this room yet. See what else we've got around here. Oh, another hackable stack. Let's go for it.
Access granted.
Done. Operation Southern Cross. Yep, again they're talking about the war in Australia. And of course the big problem with fighting the Chinese is that the Chinese have fully embraced augmentation, so all of their soldiers, or at least a larger percentage of them, are augmented. Huh. Looks like the Oceanian archipelagos are also involved in the conflict, or at least as staging grounds, if nothing else. That's probably where Rifleman Banks Station is too, but it's hard to tell. By the way, you can get in through here. There's a passcode. Oh, finally, here's where people are. Yeah, there's a number pad you can type in to open that door. There's also another way of getting in there. Just so you know. But yeah, getting past the camera is one thing, but getting past those lasers, now that's a good reason to break a wall down. It's also a good reason to sneak in through the ventilation here. Well, I believe I'm going the wrong way to be useful. In fact, yeah, deposits us right here. I was just in this room. In fact, I'm just going to go through the doors here, because that's faster. Interesting how it all connects, though. Practically don't even have to go through any of the hallways. Right, anyway. What streets? This is a station. Alright, so a couple of guys here. One's patrolling. One is just sort of stationary. Let's see if I can take them out without either of them noticing first.
Someone's here! Find him! Kill you!
That's a big fat no. That is a tremendously fat no, in fact. Can't believe I shot so many bullets at that one guy without hitting a damn thing. I mean, you know I'm more accurate than that. You can see me being accurate right here and now. But on the bright side, getting everyone's attention means I get to kill everybody. Nice and quick. And since they've got those RFID chips, can shut off the lasers by moving the bodies. Ooh, more combat rifle ammo. About time. Oh, And here's the thing. This is what I was talking about. It blows up, just like it was, just like you were using the Typhoon ability. Oh, lots of machine pistols here. Not interested. Okay. Oh, whoa, whoa. Easy there, fella. Right, well, that's all of the lasers taken care of. I believe this is the security station. But, yeah, there's the alarm panel. Just wanted to shut it off here. There we go. No more annoying alarm. Oh, and there's a panel right in here, too. Silly me. Oh, data storage device. Let's have a look at that. It's actually a quest item. Next to the biometric data disk, which is oddly similar in shape. Even though it's storing completely different information. Man, that's a lot of painkillers. I kinda need them after what I just pulled. Alright, 200 health. Hey, this is unlocked. Interesting. Who left the security hub unlocked? I wonder. Well, this one's actually kind of tricky here. You see, you gotta do the indirect approach if you want to get the data store.
Access granted.
Alright, this is an email about Jensen again. About his rampage on the Heisenju. And I am not sure what this is supposed to be. Like, maybe it looked like something in a different font? Here. Alright, but that is the way forward. Oh, oops. It's also kind of tricky because there's that open hole in the ceiling, which is an open floor when you're standing up above there. Like, that is a way for guards on the top level to spot you, you know. Alright, here they're talking about leaning on Tong Sr. and wondering about how well that's going to go. But it seems like his little decoy attempt succeeded. Oh, hey. Because they don't seem to have connected him to the explosion on the docks. Like, that's why he had Adam Jensen do it. Yep, seen all of these before. And seen that before. Don't need stun gun darts. Alright, what else have we got around here?
Access granted.
Acquisitions. Not sure what that's all about. Oh wait, eggs and cotton are basically trying to get around the system to get more equipment or something along those lines. Yeah, cotton is the stuff they're bringing in from Egypt. Oh, that's the wrong direction. But if that is the wrong direction, then where does this vent lead? Oh, well, it's actually quite simple. This is the other vent that leads underneath the stairwell. Now you might see I left that Cyber Boost Pro energy jar behind. That's because I've only got one spare battery. Even just picking that thing up is a waste of time and energy when you've only got one to spare. Plus, I've got a whole ton of the bars and the energy packs, too. Anyway. This shaft, like the other one, leads around or across the hallway here and into the security station, oddly enough. And I think I've been everywhere at this point, but the layout is a bit confusing. Like, it's pretty simple when you look at it on the map, but there's a whole bunch of very similar looking spaces. I'm lost as hell. I'm pretty sure I've been here before, but okay. I think I've been everywhere now. Which means it is time to go downstairs to pay our DLC merchant a bit of a... Or actually, no. Because the reason I haven't visited him yet is because I'm missing the third component for the rocket launcher. And I know it's around here somewhere. So, since I haven't found it downstairs, I figure I should look upstairs next. Because, well, there were people upstairs, but they responded to the alarm, and now there's nobody here but the camera. And it's definitely worth coming up here. In fact, you have to, eventually. For one way or another.
Access granted.
There we go. And this is Burke's office. Got this weird light display over his desk. Especially weird considering how dim it all is.
Geithner, any reason Burke's got a spare retinal prosthesis lying around his office?
He just received it this evening from the Tai Young Medical Corporation. HQ had a custom set made especially for him, as a thanks for so many years of good service. Why?
He'll probably be real angry when he realizes it's missing. Jensen out.
Well, some interesting paintings he's got here. Got a real monochromatic feel to it, although there are some with very strong punches of color. I wonder if he's going for an overall theme or if he just likes these particular photos and paintings. Oh, another stack I can hack. Let's go do that.
Access granted.
Nice. Oh, he's got a wall safe. And he's got a button somewhere. It's a concealed wall safe, that's why we haven't seen anything. Alright, but by the way, this is, at Rifleman Bank Station, they are developing a special kind of technology that helps coordinate fire teams out in the field. There's been a successful dry run recently, and here we go. Nice. And for getting in here, we can get access to Burke's Revolver. Let's see what makes it distinct. Well, unlike the regular revolver, you cannot adjust any of the stats. Everything it has, it comes with automatically. which is kind of unfortunate because it does not have exploding ammunition like a regular revolver can. And so it is kind of, inferior to any normal revolver you might have developed by this point. I mean, it's definitely the best weapon to just sort of find if you're playing the DLC on its own, but I'm not. And by the way, this is What's-Her-Face's office. The woman we talked to. Apparently she's Jewish. And as a matter of fact, she's not just Jewish, she's a former Israeli defense. She used to be an Israeli soldier, till she decided to go private. Once again, we can hack the stack. Man, they got to develop better security systems for their commanders' computers.
Access granted.
Keitner, that's the name. I have no idea what the etymology for Keitner is. Israeli Defense Force, IDF. Says so in one of the emails just now. Oh. And machine pistol. Lame. Alright, but, yeah, tossing Burke's revolver into the ventilation duct like I just did, that's just mostly for flavor. I don't think it means he doesn't have it later. Let's just improve hacking a step more. Extra 15%. A regular upgrade is only 10% extra stealth. Which is why, getting stealth separately before you get up to level 5 might be worth it, but no, it's not really worth it, because you can also hack better systems by using the regular upgrade. Anywho, looks like we're in another one of those odd little rooms off to themselves, like the one Keitner was in. This is a different one, and in fact, the security hub turns off different cameras. Those are the second floor cameras. By getting down here, you can walk a long way to get... yep. This is the one I was talking about before. See? Dedicated terminal. That's how you could have opened it from this end. But I didn't need to. Unfortunately, though, I still don't have that extra part I need for the rocket launcher, and I'm pretty sure those two offices are the only things up here. Well, that being said, there is one other thing up here. Oh, I guess there's two. Bell Tower Alpha Admin. Yeah, I am thinking of something we're going to see in a little bit. But until then, just gonna read the shelves and check out this computer. M. Goldman.
Access granted.
Oh. Looks like some of the people around here are passing the time with ciphers. You know, I'm not terribly good with cryptography myself, so if you know the answer, go ahead and tell me. I will be glad to know. Oh, and by the way, one other thing. On Keitner's computer, she reassigned most of her units out of Jensen's path. So that's why you don't have to feel too terribly bad, even if you do go full lethal like I've done. Because everyone who's even reasonable level of innocent is out of your way. You will not encounter them directly.
Access granted.
Yeah, that was just faster. I don't know why I did it the other way. Speaking of faster, shortcut. This will come in handy later. And this is the scope assembly I have been searching for. Somehow I missed both that and a 10mm pistol. Just right there on the cluttered desk in Spec Ops. Right. Let's just have a look at the inventory item. And now we can head downstairs. Oh, take a look at the retinal prosthesis bag. Now we will go downstairs to speak to our civilian shop coordinator. Oh, these have really calmed down since the last time we were out here. The horizon is still a little short, though. Yep, seen this one too. Oh, hello there, buddy. What's that? You're behind glass, so I won't even have the chance to shoot you?
Are you Quinn?
Well, if it ain't the bloody Grim Reaper himself.
What are you talking about?
Christ almighty, lad. You got half the garrison shitting themselves and afraid to go out on patrol. Look, I don't want no trouble. You hear? The commander said to help you. That's what I'll do. Just don't kill me, all right? I got children. 8 of them. Well, look, I don't really have yet, but... All right. I don't really have any. Just don't fucking shoot me.
Yeah, alright. Since you asked politely.
It's how I operate. A dead hostile is one less potential variable to deal with down the line. But you don't seem like a threat to me.
Fucking hey, man. Is that supposed to be comforting?
Look, Keitner said you can help me. Can you?
Yeah. She told me to be expecting you. But that was ages ago. What are you trying to pull here? We're risking our lives diverting attention away from you, covering your tracks. There's limits to how much we can sweep under the rug before the dogs start digging. It's a good thing she can find your clearance to this section of the base. I'd hate to see where you'd end up otherwise.
I'm grateful, but can we get on with it? I understand you run a nice little sideline in procurement.
Aye. From time to time you might say being inclined to do a little, how should we call it? Bartering. On the side. Since the commander signed off on it, I suppose I could open my stock to you. For a price, that is.
You mean I have to pay?
What? Of course you have to bloody well pay. I ain't exactly a fucking armory quartermaster down here. I'm just a civvy contractor trying to make ends meet. This ain't a bleeding charity.
Considering the circumstances.
Circumstances? What, that you're a fugitive and I'm risking my neck just talking to you? What are you trying to pull here? Although, I don't suppose you had anything to do with the stasis pod that was saved back on the ship.
How do you know about that?
Ah, so it was you, eh? Well, let's just say I have me sources and your little random act of kindness didn't go unnoticed. Tell you what, I'll give you a discount on me wares. Just no freebies or handouts. But now that I think of it, if you're looking for a little something for nothing and don't mind a little legwork, I've got an errand that could use running. Consider it a special offer of sorts. Interested?
Well, why not?
All right, tell me about this special offer.
Look, I don't know if you've noticed yet, but this base is packing some serious heat. Especially in the form of those walking brick shithouse boxcars. If you get me a few odds and ends, I might be able to whip up a little something to make getting around easier, if you catch my meaning.
What kind of something are we talking about here?
Nothing fancy. Just a 329 series MPRS.
A rocket launcher?
That's right, mate. And custom built. By yours truly, of course. You see, while I might be able to get my fingers on some low-level arms, I'm a little restricted when it comes to military-grade bells and whistles. And I'm itching to try out a new trigger propulsion mix. Maybe even recalibrate the guidance system for some extra punch.
You're some civilian contractor, aren't you?
While I find your enthusiasm for explosives slightly disturbing, something like this could come in handy.
Like I always say, speaking soft is for the birds when you got the biggest stick on the block. Look, all you gotta do is find me some components. I'll do the rest. An earlier boat had a shipment of 329s, but I wasn't able to poach any of them before they made it to the armory. Luckily, little Sparrow in my employ managed to lose one through maintenance circulation, but he got himself shit canned before I could collect. Now my little bute's lying around the base somewhere in bloody pieces. The launcher, I mean, not the wee man. Though, I've no idea what really happened to him.
Right, so, long story short, you need me to find the parts and bring them back to you.
Yeah, that about sums it up, I'd say. Just find me the trigger module, scope assembly, and launch a barrel, and we're in business. I can scrape up the rest from leftovers here in the shop.
I think I already found some of the components. Are these them?
Aye. Let me see what you got there. Fucking deadly. That's all of them. Give me a sec with me tools, I'll get them sorted out right and proper.
Nice. Except there is one problem.
Right then. That'll do you. Anything else I can be helping you with then?
It's too big for my inventory.
Tell me about the commander, Keitner.
Lieutenant Commander, officially. But the grunts don't pay no mind to that. She's the commander as far as they're concerned. It's the Reds who stick to the formalities, you see. Because they're Burke's boys. The spooks. Special operations. You might say there's a bit of a division of loyalty among the troops.
Between Keitner's men and Burke's?
Aye. Since time immemorial, there's always been a rivalry of sorts between grunts and spooks. I always assumed it came down to ego. But it's different here. Probably because Burke's different.
What do you mean?
Well, for a start, the man might be a righteous prick, but he's got the respect of his men. And the higher-ups think he's a visionary based on some fancy tech he drummed up a few years back. In other words, the man's got a lot of influence and a lot of power, and, well, I don't think that old proverb needs repeating here.
What exactly do you do here, Quinn?
In a more civilized world, you might say I pass for the base's lead maintenance engineer. But if you look at it from Bell Tower's point of view, I might as well just be a glorified janitor. Pays good, though, so, you know, not complaining.
If the pay is good, why the underground market?
Well, why not? You see, civilian contractors operate under different jurisdiction when it comes to bringing outside goods into the base. So while the rank-and-file grunts can only order and receive essentials, toothpaste and the like, I, being the entrepreneurial chap that I am, from a more robust catalogue of goods and services. You know the sort. Smokes, beverages, and gentleman's literature.
How does this involve weapons?
Now, let me finish. As an enterprising fellow, I require an exchange of valuables for these slightly less than essential supplies, and often receive some very non-civilian contractor-regulated equipment in exchange, if you catch my drift. Now, normally, I launder my stock through a contact on the mainland, but a deal in Shanghai recently fell through, so lucky for you, I've got some excess inventory to move. Consider this whole arrangement a matter of fortunate timing.
And Keitner is okay with all of this?
Not exactly. You see, some time ago, the commander got wind of my little operation down here. But before she could throw me in the brig, I offered her something I knew she couldn't refuse. Information. I ain't bragging, but I've managed to build myself quite a little network of sparrows and gophers. I'd known for a while that she'd been at odds with that prick Burke. In the end, we reached a rather simple mutual agreement. I keep her in the loop, and she keeps my neck out of the noose, so to speak.
What can you tell me about this base?
Nothing you don't know, probably. To the outside world, it's a Bell Tower naval logistics headquarters and supply point for their Pacific operations. Beneath the surface, though, it's much, much more.
How so?
Look, nothing personal, mate, but I prefer if the commander did most of the informing. As far as I'm concerned, the less I know, and more importantly, the less I say in this matter, the better off we all are. Buy something or bugger off.
Fair enough. Although I'm probably in the mood to sell stuff first. Assuming I've got... Oh. Well, I could sell Typhoon ammo, that's something. And probably the concussion grenades. I got enough things I can toss, I don't really need it. Let's see here. Well, I finally got plenty of 10mm ammo again. A lot of beers here, interesting. Oh, and a Praxis Kit.
Satisfaction guaranteed. Unless, of course, you fuck it up yourself.
I can actually use Praxis now. Oh, and I got one through experience too. Alright, I don't think I'll get full stealth, because I can still also make use of... yeah. Extra inventory space. And there's the rocket launcher. Again, it's too big for my, even my expanded inventory. Yeah, that thing is big. And I believe it's just your basic rocket launcher, same upgrade options, but it comes automatically with the heat targeting system. Like, that comes pre-installed.
Well, if it ain't my... What do you...
Alright, and let's get rid of it for 2,000 credits.
Satisfaction.
Get my weapon back. And looks like there's some extra areas to explore over this way. In fact, there's this whole area back here. And that's not the only way of getting to it, either. Oh, damage upgrade. What can I put on you? Yeah, shotgun. My pistol does not need any damage upgrades. It kills everybody so long as I've got a headshot. That's good enough, I think. Alright, but yeah. You can actually climb up and down instead of taking the elevator. And I'm not really sure how I missed that vent before. I guess I was just always running in the wrong direction to see it. Well, anyway, because I didn't take the elevator back up, the elevator is currently down, and so I'm just going to call it back up here because there is going to be an occasion to go back downstairs. But until then, this video is over. So we'll be in the detention camp next time. Virtual reality has been getting pretty big again lately, and while it's not really that big in Human Revolution, augmented reality is, so I figure I should talk about both of them in today's Science Corner. But to start off, I should first explain how 3D images work in general. An image that pops. 3D images go back all the way to the dawn of photography itself. After all, it's not a hard concept to figure out. Our two eyes see the world from slightly different angles, and they use that parallax information to determine the depth of field. Our eyes can focus on different distances individually, but our ability to judge distance is much more effective when we are using two eyes. And it's why our eyes face the same direction instead of sitting on either side of our head. Humans are predatory animals, and so judging distance is more important to us than keeping an eye on all of our surroundings. Point is, all you need to do to create a 3D image is to start with two pictures of a scene made with two cameras placed close together. You then use a rig that lets you see only one image with each eye, and suddenly you can perceive depth from flat photos. Ever play with a Viewmaster when you were a kid? Because those things first showed up in 1939. Because 3D images have been a thing for so long, the film industry has made many attempts at creating 3D motion pictures throughout its history. The first attempts were stereoscopic, which means they ran two films on two screens and separated the eyes of the audience just like how I described earlier. Unfortunately, a stereoscope demands some bulky equipment to use right, and it's not really compatible with an ordinary movie theater. In 1922, the first commercially released 3D film, The Power of Love, came up with an elegant solution: anaglyph glasses. These are tinted glasses that filter out the tint's color so that you can only see the opposite. Red and cyan are the most common pairing, but you can use any two opposing colors if you want. By adding a red and cyan tint to each of the two reels of a 3D film, you can project both onto the same screen and still get a 3D effect so long as you wear the right glasses. On the other hand, you need two projectors running in perfect sync to avoid headaches. The film can suffer from ghosting issues when an image isn't completely blocked by a color filter, and the filters tend to wash the colors out of a color film. Still, moviegoers enjoyed the novelty of it and made 3D a popular gimmick throughout the 1950s. But the movies that used it tended to lean pretty heavily on that gimmick instead of spending their time on, making a good movie. So you'd have characters waving sticks at the camera or monsters reaching for the audience when they should have been doing something that made sense, that sort of thing. Between the gimmicky films and the sensitive equipment needed for 3D, it didn't take long for the fad to fade out. Still, it stuck around for horror movies for a few more decades. The technology would continue to improve throughout the 70s and 80s, but it would take a new kind of 3D to bring non-horror audiences back. Polarization had been around for a long time, and by making 3D glasses able to see, say, horizontal light through one lens and vertical light through the other, it became possible to project two full-color images on a screen simultaneously for a 3D effect. The one big downside is that if you sat at a bad angle or tilted your head just a bit, the image would screw up. That's why polarized 3D remained a gimmick up until relatively recently, because it wasn't until the 2000s that we developed a 3D system that used circular polarization instead. Circular polarization lets you see clockwise spinning light in one lens and counterclockwise spinning light in the other, which means you can sit at any angle and tilt your head however you want. There are still downsides, however. Because you can't see all of the light coming at you, movies appear darker than they really are, and filmmakers don't always compensate for that fact. The low frame rate of films means headaches still happen for polarized 3D even though the frames are perfectly in sync. Also, LCD monitors can have trouble displaying polarized 3D since they use polarization for other reasons, as I've brought up before. Instead, LCD 3D tends to use shutter glasses, which use liquid crystals to blank one eye and then the other so that each one sees only half the frames coming from your screen. They're basically stereoscopic glasses, but they need a power source to do all of that, and you can get a headache from the flickering. The need for full immersion. Ever since early humans developed their imagination and told the first story, we've had the ability to leave our present surroundings behind and immerse ourselves in a fictional world. But while our imaginations are certainly up to the task, we've also always looked for ways to more efficiently immerse ourselves in our fantasies. Cave paintings and murals, illustrated books and musical accompaniment, radio shows and motion pictures. Virtual reality, at least in its idealized form, is quite simply the end goal of all this immersion. Aside from 3D images, the first real step towards virtual reality was probably the simulation. By that, I mean the metal boxes used to simulate airplanes, so the pilots in training could learn how to take off and land without the risk of anything going catastrophically wrong. The first of these was the Link trainer, devised by Edward Link in 1929. These trainers were used extensively by the US Army in World War II. The first push for story immersion was the Sensorama, a device developed throughout the 1950s by Morton Heilig to give users a full sensory experience. You stick your head into a cone that lets you experience full surround sound. You look at a stereoscopic image, and certain points of the film trigger chair vibrations, fans, and scents. In 1960, Heilig developed the first head-mounted motion picture stereoscope. A headset that could track motion appeared in 1961. At this point, the device was for a purely practical application. It was linked to a remote camera and was designed to help soldiers view dangerous locations safely. However, a virtual reality headset wouldn't have to wait much longer. The first of those was the Sword of Damocles, developed in 1969. It was uncomfortable to wear, couldn't move your body since it hung from the ceiling, and all you got was wireframe images, but hey, it wasn't bad for a proof of concept. Virtual reality first went commercial in 1987. That was when Jaron Lanier of the Visual Programming Lab first sold VR gear to the public, popularizing the term virtual reality in the process, and inspiring all kinds of late 80s and early 90s films. These first headsets were ridiculously expensive, of course, but by 1991 you could find VR arcade machines, and by the mid-90s, the console giants had started experimenting with VR. Unfortunately, these experiments didn't go well. Sega's VR headset died in the crib, and the Nintendo Virtual Boy is an infamous flop that only displayed one color, had mostly terrible launch titles, and almost inevitably caused neck strain and headaches after about half an hour of looking into it. Plus, the only thing making it virtual was the stereoscopic display. Because of the costs and the failures, VR went out of fashion by the late 90s. However, the recent resurgence of 3D movies has had a knock-on effect for virtual reality. VR games are still mostly gimmicks at this point, but the Oculus Rift has been a solid hit, and Sony has recently done them one better with the PlayStation VR. One big advantage of modern systems is the refresh rate, the frames per second. One of the major reasons why VR and 3D movies cause headaches is because it's trying to convince your eyes and your brain that this is a replacement for reality and not just a moving picture. For a moving picture, you hardly need more than 24 frames per second, and your brain will do the blending for you. But the 60 frames per second you get from TV or computer screen is more realistic if you watch them side by side. But to really fool your brain with 3D without causing a headache, you need 90 or 120 frames per second. Another issue with VR is motion sensing. Headsets are good enough at this point to track your head's movement, but to interact with the environment, you'll need something that can identify where your hands are and what they're doing. They also need a way for you to move around in the VR simulation without you having to physically move around. The PlayStation VR and Oculus Rift can both work with special controllers that track your hand's locations and give you buttons to press. And the HTC Vive that works with Steam games comes with accessories that track your whole body throughout a 10-foot cube. VR is even coming to cell phones, although it's not nearly as impressive as the ones that connect to larger consoles. Basically, you strap your phone into a headset that lets you see a stereoscopic image, and the phone's motion detection will shift the image based on which direction you look. These headsets are cheap, but phone VR doesn't work with motion controls, and its frame rate leaves a lot to be desired. My reality is augmented. First, let me define the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality completely replaces your surroundings with a new set of visuals. Augmented reality adds visuals to the world that already exists around you, like a label attached to an object, a 3D image projected above a special flyer, or personal information that sits in the corner of your eye. The interface in Human Revolution is projected onto Adam Jensen's sunglasses, and that is augmented reality. Like virtual reality, augmented reality traces its roots back to military aircraft applications with the head-up display, or HUD. The HUD projects an image onto a clear pane of glass in between the pilot and the canopy, and displays important information so that the pilot doesn't have to look down at his or her instruments. That's where the name comes from. The pilot's head is up thanks to this display. The original HUD got its start as a special gyroscopic gun sight developed by the UK during World War II, but the first projected HUD showed up on UK combat jets in 1958. Later models dropped the separate glass and projected information directly onto the canopy. And HUD technology has otherwise followed along with display technology in general. These days, HUDs are slowly showing up in automobiles, and you can get the separate glass version as an aftermarket accessory. The first time anyone used the name augmented reality was in 1992 in a Boeing research lab. As a plane manufacturer, Boeing certainly knew about the benefits of head-up displays, and so two of their employees, Caudell and Mizell, developed a special set of glasses that projected wire schematics over the boards the wires are assembled on. In 1993, researchers at other labs developed goggles that could analyze certain electronics and suggest repairs based on their appearance, as well as a handheld device that displayed different information depending on what you pointed it at. AR has a lot of potential uses, which is why it's such an attractive technology. As an evolution of the HUD, it lets you see important status information without having to look away from your surroundings. It can help you navigate by identifying buildings and streets and projecting a map that constantly updates your location. AR lets you see 3D images in a 3D space without having to go through the expense of creating a physical object. It can project instructions and diagrams onto objects and make them easier to understand, assemble, and repair. It also lets you see through objects by projecting a 3D image of what would be behind them, like the public utility pipes and wires buried underground, or the organs in a patient's body. In 1996, developers connected AR headsets so that multiple users could see and interact with the same 3D objects. Applications included teaching geometry and fighting space aliens that appeared in your room in co-op mode. In 1997, someone developed an AR rig that could go mobile, although it did require a bulky backpack to hold the computer and an early tablet to use as the AR interface. By 2003, PDAs were starting to run augmented reality applications. However, all of this AR tech had one major flaw. It only worked on objects and locations pre-programmed into the software. Computers are famously bad at imperfect pattern recognition, which is why AR is really only taking off now, because now is when software engineers have started to develop some solutions to this pattern recognition problem. That and smartphones have taken off, and as the descendants of PDAs, smartphones have all the same advanced AR applications. All that is well and good, but the best kind of AR is the kind you don't have to look down to use. A HUD that projects right onto a set of glasses. That's what Google Glass tried to be when it came out in 2012. But that didn't go so well, mostly because the project head didn't really explain that the public beta test was a public beta test and not the device going gold for a general release. Thus, naturally, everybody hated it. Still, a wearable AR HUD with voice commands is something that could hit store shelves within the next few years. Thanks for joining me again today in Science Corner. I hope I'll see you next time when I cover David Cronenberg's cyberpunk horror movie.